Shigeru Miyamoto. He's the brain behind such classic games as Legend of Zelda, Mario Brothers, and Donkey Kong. And out of all the games he designed, there was only one game that never came out in the Famicom here in the US. It seems that game crossed the line for a conservative 1980s America, but it wasn't unplayable, just something that Nintendo of America was afraid to promote. So what game had Nintendo of America in such a tizzy? Well, it's fun to play, it's easy to learn, and the best thing is that Devil World, the 1984 game that never was. Oh, it was released to Europe well enough, but us Yanks never got the choice of whether or not we wanted it. That choice was made for us. In Devil World, you play as the little dragon Tamagon, who has decided to take the offense and attack the Devil's world. Your job is to collect the little boa pellets strewn across the maze-like world and... yeah, I know what you're thinking. Boy, that sure looks familiar. Well, don't forget that throughout gaming history, people have seen what works and build upon it to make their own games, even nowadays. But this little cart is so much more than just a Pac-Man clone. For one, the screen moves. And if you get caught in between the edge of a screen and a wall, you're goo. Dragon goo. And you lose a life. Also, you don't pick up dots right away. And this is where Nintendo of America began to start to have its problems. Because to collect the dots, you have to pick up a cross. The cross only lasts for about 15 to 20 seconds, and then you have to get another one. Once you collect all the dots, you're sent to a new stage where you have to collect Bibles of all things, and put them into the middle of the podium. Once all the Bibles have been fitted in, then you move to the next stage. The controls are real simple. Walking around is done with the D-pad. Once you collect a cross, you can shoot a fireball by pressing the A or B buttons. Now, you aren't invincible once you get a cross, so you will need to use the fireballs whenever you get close to an enemy. There's only 2 enemies on the screen at one time, but everything is constantly moving. The enemies also don't suffer the wraparound problems that your little dragon does. After placing all 4 Bibles in their places, you are sent to a third bonus stage where you collect boxes. Collect all 6 of them in the time given for big bonus points. As a bonus, there are treats that periodically pop up and spin around the edges of the screen. Collecting them all makes for more big bonus points. But this game does have some down points. The controls are a bit stiff, and so turning the corners isn't as fluid as it could be. So sometimes rounding a corner could result in you pausing for a moment while your little dragon decides on whether or not he really wants to go that way. The devil at the top of the screen points in the direction that the screen is going to scroll, but I find that averting my eyes to look at him causes me to lose my place on the screen, so he's actually more there for decoration. Also, the lack of an auto fire can create some annoying thumb fatigue, but that's actually typical of games put out in those days. Jeez, I say those days like I'm old or something. Now the lack of an actual ending is truly retro, but may annoy some people. You see kids, in the old days, we didn't try and beat a game to see the ending. We tried to gain things called points. And we used these points to add up to a high score. And we tried to get the best high score. Oh, shut up! Notice that I didn't say anything about the graphics. You see, these are retro games, and so the graphics are not going to be high definition. This is just one of the steps of video game evolution. This game wasn't created with blasphemy in mind, it was created around an idea. Now, understandably, this was the time where Nintendo of America were taking out all references to Christianity and religion to be as PC and non-offensive to the populace as they could be. But this is one of the games that should be brought out on the Virtual Console here in the US right now. I mean, times have changed, and if you can bring out a game like Cho and Iki... then surely a small fire-breathing dragon defeating evil wouldn't be too bad. So, to wrap things up, since this was based on a game that was popular at the time, it's really fun for all audiences. Also, since it was verboten here in the US, you collectors will enjoy it even more, I think. It's actually quite challenging for its time, and a moving screen becomes a true hindrance when you cannot get out of a tight spot. With it not having an ending, it just gets tougher and tougher, becoming a question of how long you can last. The graphics are not that hot, but for 1984, they were about par for that time. But there is a whole lot going on the screen, so that makes up for it. A bit sluggish, I find, but many games of that era were. Just like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, and Defender, there's no ending here. Just that other goal to be had, high score. There is no Japanese at all in this game, so literally anyone can play it without any difficulty. A true 0 out of 5. This card is common and pretty inexpensive. I got mine for $4. Miyamoto really knew what he was doing. He didn't strive to rip off an idea. He was looking for a concept that he could build upon. And trust me, once you play it, you'll completely understand how original this game really is. And if you look at video games as a whole, they become something more. Something that people have said time and time again. That they're not just video games, they're works of art.
And now I won't stop singing till the world knows he did things differently right from the start. And now his games are like little moments in time, captured in my mind.